Welcome to You Ask, We Answer, where our team breaks down your real questions about indoor air quality in a way that's clear, practical, and honest. Let's get started. Hey everybody, and welcome back. I'm here with Dan Dearden, who is our Air Filtration Specialist. He's got 50 years of experience in the industry, and today he's going to help us answer one of the questions that you guys sent in. Now, this question is asking about indoor air quality, and surprise, it's asking about indoor air quality.
Right?
But more specifically, it's asking about how we know if our home has safe air or good air, and maybe some of the symptoms that come along with poor indoor air quality.
It's a really good question because what a lot of people don't realize is that bad indoor air can cause symptoms that they uh, generally attach to something else. They don't realize it's connected to the quality of their air in their home.
I did a little bit of pre-research for
Imagine that.
this, and in less than a second, Google actually came up with 300 or so articles talking about indoor air quality symptoms or bad indoor air quality symptoms. And I know we want to talk about this today and that you're going to tell me about some of these symptoms, but what are we going to talk about that's different than these articles that we have so much accessibility to already?
Right. There's a ton of information already out there. The thing about those articles is that they're really focused on the symptoms of bad indoor air. But what they don't realize is that your house is involved in this whole process. It's not just about the air, it's about what your house is doing. So the interesting thing about homes is they breathe.
Okay. So our home is breathing while we're breathing in our homes. Explain. What do you mean?
So that really complicates things. So your house breathes in and it breathes out. Okay, let's change it to industry terms. The one term is called infiltration. That's the air that's coming into your home. Well, the reason why there's air coming into your home is because through all the gaps and cracks and exit points in your home, air is leaving your home. So it's constantly what we call breathing. It's bringing in outside air and the inside air is escaping. Okay. The rate at which it does that is called air changes per hour. So how fast your home is breathing. Okay. It breathes in and breathes out. It's a lot more often than people realize. It's about once an hour. All the air in your home has been replaced with outside air. Okay.
Yeah, that's surprising that it's that often. I would expect it to be way less than that. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about indoor air quality, we have to bring the house into the discussion. And one more thing, humans are kind of the parasites of the home.
Okay. Please do go on.
So they're constantly bringing dirt into the house or chemicals into the home that are releasing chemicals into the air, breathing. So there's a constant flux going on inside the home. And that's why I say the home has to be really brought into this conversation.
Okay. So give me some examples of, these harmful chemicals or what's going on in the house.
Well, the easiest one for people to understand, we'll get into more difficult subjects later on, is humidity. Okay. So think about that. If your home is constantly breathing in and breathing out, then it's affected by the humidity outdoors. Okay. Not just what's going on inside the home, but what's going on outside. So if you live in a dry climate, then constantly dry air is being brought into your home. And then you're going to be, so humans like 40 to 60% relative humidity. That's what we like.
Okay.
Anything below 40%, we think it's too dry. Anything above 60%, we think it's too humid.
Well, then my house is way too dry because I'll tell you, it's not anywhere close to that.
Yes, you live in a dry climate. So let's talk about that first. Okay. So constantly, the moist air in your home that is being, the moisture is generated by humans and showers and cooking and things. Okay. That nice moist air is being released and dry air is being brought in to replace that. Now, the symptoms of having a home that's too dry, which you obviously know all about, Okay.
Yes, I do.
Dry, itchy skin, nosebleeds, sinusitis. Furnishings also are included in that. So wood furniture can dry out and crack, wood floors. If you happen to have woodwind instruments or a piano,
Hmm.
that is constantly affected by the humidity in your home. And so besides it being uncomfortable, it can also lead to some unhealthy situations there. Now, let's say you lived in Alabama. Your story would be a little bit, or Houston. Let's use Houston. Houston is the most humid city I've ever been in. Let's say you lived in Houston. Well, constantly you would be, it's like 80, 90% relative humidity outside, and that is being brought into your home. And so your home is going to be constantly breathing in all that humidity. And so that in and of itself is going to be uncomfortable for humans, but it can lead to unhealthy situations in that you can now have situations where you can have mold or mildew. Then that leads to the next problem, which is the problems that mold and mildew can create with humans. A lot of people are very sensitive and highly allergic to mold spores. And so it can exacerbate your asthma. It can, if there are some people who are just deathly allergic to that. And so drastic measures have to be taken for someone in that case.
Okay, so we've got humidity issues within the house. What can people do in order to solve this humidity issue?
Well, let's go back to the dry climate first. Your house is too dry. Okay. One thing that you can do is add humidification, and there are several options for that. You can, if you have a forced air system in your home, then you can add a humidifier to that. The most effective and let's say cost-effective solution is a bypass humidifier. Works great and very inexpensive to run and inexpensive to have a contractor install. If you don't have a forced air system, you may need to have a portable humidifier. Let's say you have a radiantly heated home. And you don't have a duct system to distribute the humidity in your home. You can use portable humidifiers. Problem with portable humidifiers is you are constantly having to refill them, so they're kind of annoying. But hey, I'd rather be annoyed than dry. They do have steam humidifiers, which will automatically humidify your home. And it also will help to weatherize your home. So, in other words, let's say I did have a home that breathed once an hour. Okay. You can weatherize your home, make it tighter so that it breathes only once every 3 hours. So therefore, any humidification efforts that you do in the home, it stays, the symptoms are relieved for much longer. And so those are some options there. Now let's talk about, let's say you're in a wet climate, like you're in Houston. Okay.
Mhm.
Weatherization is going to help there too, because we're going to try to keep that humidity from coming in. Your average air conditioner really does a great job of at getting rid of that humidification, that extra humidity in your air. So the weatherization will help your air conditioner work for much longer and better. You may need to ultimately put in a whole home dehumidifier. That's an expensive solution, but it may, if you don't want that mold or mildew situation going on, so you may have to resort to that. There is also the situation where either you're in a too dry climate, and for health reasons you need humidity so badly, and I do know people who have done this. They actually move from a dry climate to a more humid climate. Their body just can't stand the dryness, and the opposite is true. Here's a really good example. Let's say you're really, really allergic to dust mites.
Mm.
Technically, it's dust mite feces that you're allergic to, not the dust mites themselves.
That makes me feel really, really good.
Well, you can feel good because you live in a dry climate. Dust mites don't live in a dry climate. They require moisture out of the air in order to survive. So if you were severely allergic to dust mites, you might consider moving from your humid climate to a dry climate, and your symptoms will be alleviated that way.
Okay. So we know that humidity has an effect then on our indoor air quality,
Yeah.
and it can have effects on things like asthma. And you were saying on one side, there's asthma and respiratory issues, those kinds of things. And then there's also eczema and dryness of skin and
Right.
dry eyes and that kind of stuff.
If you have constant nosebleeds, that's an
Yes.
important health issue.
Yeah. Okay. So we know that humidity is one of those
Yep.
things. We have a few solutions to remedy those
Yep.
issues. What's next?
Okay. Ultimately, there are 7 indoor air qualities that we look at from a professional level. Okay.
And we are just talking about most indoor air quality
Yep.
specialists or NovusAer.
Just indoor air quality specialists in general.
Okay.
This is not just about our product.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So the next one to talk about is also a kind of a human issue. So the parasite issue, right? That I was telling you about. Humans exhale, and what do they exhale?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide.
Oh, glad I
There
passed
you
that
go.
test.
Any mammal. What's funny is I've done 2 in-home tests recently. Both of the homeowners had dogs, big dogs, okay? And their carbon dioxide in their home was extremely high.
Oh, interesting. So if you have pets, you likely have carbon dioxide levels that are higher than somebody without pets.
Right.
Makes
Now,
sense.
yeah, now they weren't so high that it was a dangerous level, but it was high enough to where it could cause some cognitive issues. You might be a little bit sleepy. So carbon dioxide um, is a air quality issue that we get concerned about. It can cause you to be tired. It can give you some cognitive dissonance. Okay, so you're just slow at thinking. Okay, in extreme cases, let's say you had a severe buildup of carbon dioxide, it does have extreme health effects, up to and including death.
Yes. Very severe.
Now that essentially is almost impossible. If your home is breathing all the time, you're not going to have that buildup of carbon dioxide. So mostly we're just concerned about that tiredness, lethargic issue that comes with excessive carbon dioxide.
And so what is a solution for a buildup of carbon dioxide in your home?
Pretty much you're not going to get rid of the humans or the pets.
Correct.
Okay. And so it's a matter of just dilution. So in other words, bringing in fresh air to make the home, to dilute the amount of carbon dioxide in the air. Okay. That can be done with the most common way to do that is with what's called a heat recovery ventilator or an energy recovery ventilator. It's a mechanical device that brings in air from the outside and exchanges the energy that you've paid for in your home. I'm just going to leave it. Heat recovery ventilator and an energy recovery ventilator. Great solutions to bring fresh air into your home and recover the energy that you've paid for. Here is a case where weatherization actually works against you. And if the tighter your home, the more it's going to keep the carbon dioxide in.
Yeah.
Okay. So weatherization itself is not a good solution for high carbon dioxide.
There is the possibility of too much weatherization.
Your home's too tight.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Another neat thing that we need to talk about, okay, is that it was fairly expensive to get a monitor that would monitor carbon dioxide in your home, because that's something you would like to know about if you're experiencing those symptoms. But now they're really inexpensive. You can get a good carbon dioxide home monitor for $45.
And is that something you would recommend somebody do, or only if they're exhibiting these symptoms?
I think it would be symptom driven. So as we talk about the many different symptoms of the different indoor air quality issues, then if you're experiencing those symptoms, then I would recommend that's when you would get a monitor. There's no sense in buying a carbon dioxide monitor if you don't have any of the symptoms.
Okay, carbon dioxide can be a big thing. A solution is just making sure that there's more airflow throughout the house.
Yep.
A few different ways to do that. So that's 2 of our 7. What
Okay.
else do we have?
Let's stay on the carbon one, and let's do carbon monoxide though.
Okay.
That is a very important one to talk about. Carbon monoxide is a toxic, poisonous gas that comes from the burning of carbon-based fuels such as wood, propane, natural gas, anything that pretty much humans like to burn. Carbon monoxide is released from that.
Okay.
Now the symptoms are, let's say mild exposure. Mild exposure to carbon monoxide is just simply headaches, flu-like symptoms. You just feel sick, headachy, don't really know why.
Just kind of off.
Yes. Now, the exposure to massive amounts or greater amounts of carbon monoxide, then that's extremely dangerous. You're easily gonna die from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just focus on the mild exposure. Okay. The reason why I want to focus on that is because carbon monoxide alarms that you get from the local hardware store do not alarm until you're at dangerous levels. So in other words, I'll give you an example. Your average carbon monoxide alarm from the hardware store, let's be specific, a UL listed carbon monoxide alarm, okay? And that's important because in order for it to be UL listed, it has to alarm at a specific amount, okay? You can literally be breathing 29 parts per million of carbon monoxide all day long, every day of the year, and it will never alarm. So,
Yeah, that's definitely higher than I would prefer to be breathing on a regular basis.
well, I'll ask you the question that I ask all my customers, okay?
Okay.
How much toxic poisonous gas do you want to be breathing?
0, I think.
Zero. Zero. That's how much we want to be breathing. None. And so I had a customer who this as a heating and air conditioning technician, who I discovered their furnace was leaking carbon monoxide in very small amounts. And she said, well, what's that? And I said, well, this is carbon monoxide and what it does to you. And she just broke down. Sorry?
You can tell that you're very passionate about what
Yeah.
you do,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Her family, for several years, every winter, they experienced flu-like symptoms all winter long. The husband worked remotely during the week, so he was only there on the weekdays. The carbon monoxide alarm never went off, so they went to the doctors many times, and the doctor just said, well, it's just flu.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it wasn't. It was continuous exposure to low levels of carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
So, that being said, let's talk about measuring it.
Okay. Yeah, let's do.
Because I think this is really important. I'd like our listeners to know about this, and that is you want a low-level carbon monoxide alarm. And there's not that many manufacturers, but you can find them. Just search online, and you'll find low-level carbon monoxide alarms that will alert you at 5 parts per million.
Okay.
And that's very important. You don't want to be breathing any carbon monoxide.
Okay, so a carbon monoxide detector is something that probably everybody should invest in rather than the carbon dioxide detector, which maybe is just symptomatic or...
No, good point. Good point. Yes, I highly recommend everyone has a low-level carbon monoxide detector in their home
Okay, great.
because it's odorless, tasteless, and deadly.
And you have no idea that it's there, and you could be having symptoms for years and years.
That's correct.
Wow, that's really important.
Right. Solutions for carbon monoxide. You have to find and eliminate the source. End of story. Period. There's no other option.
What are the biggest culprits? Like just the furnace, or are there other culprits? I mean, you said, I guess,
Yep.
anything that's burning.
Your gas stove,
Mhm.
gas fireplace, furnace, anything that burns a carbon-based fuel. It could be your neighbor is causing a problem in your house.
Really?
Yeah. Remember how your home breathes? I
Yes.
had a customer whose carbon monoxide alarm, and it wasn't low level, was going off intermittently.
Okay.
I made trip after trip going out there to figure out what was going on. By the time I got there, I never could find it. They finally figured out that it was early in the morning that the alarm would go off. So one morning, like 5 o'clock in the morning, I showed up at their house. Turns out their neighbor was warming up their car all winter long next to their house. And their house breathes,
Oh.
and so it was sucking in the carbon monoxide from their car.
So did they tell the neighbor to stop doing that, please?
They did have a discussion with their neighbor, and their neighbor stopped doing that. Yeah,
That sounds good. It probably was affecting the neighbor as well. So,
I'm sure.
for carbon monoxide, our symptoms were things like nausea, dizziness, headaches, fatigue, and it could be even as bad as seizures or, like you said,
Unconsciousness.
unconsciousness or death. Okay, so not a good thing. Find the source, get rid of it.
Right.
So one thing that I have heard, and
Mhm.
I want you to debunk this for me, or maybe tell me if it's true,
Mhm.
is that our air can actually be worse inside our house than it is outside of our house. Is this true?
So if you go to the EPA website, they do have a whole paragraph on that says your home may be 2 to 4 times, the air in your home may be 2 to 4 times worse than what's outside your home. And it says can be. That's the operative word, can be, okay? Generally what they're talking about is the subject of VOCs, volatile organic compounds, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about that. So this is back to that human parasite thing, okay? Humans bring things into their home that can then give off toxic chemicals, toxic gases, okay? And actually the construction of your home can do it too. Flooring, sheetrock, paint, furniture that you bring into your home can be off-gassing volatile organic compounds. So these are compounds that can be just an irritation, cause irritation. They can also be compounds that cause cancers. And so it is definitely a concern about volatile organic compounds. All right, so the symptoms of you inhaling volatile organic compounds, VOCs, are just kind of irritation things like irritation of the eyes, nose, and throat. There can be dizziness or fatigue involved in that. Also, it can worsen symptoms of asthma, or if you have COPD, it can make that worse. So very much a concern. Those are what the symptoms are going to be. Measuring VOCs is the tough part. There are, I don't know, 2, 3, 400 different VOCs. Now, there's very common ones that are more common than others. But so as a homeowner, you can order a test kit. You collect samples, you send it in. It's not as simple as just setting a simple monitor on your table. And so I recommend 2 different options with testing for VOCs for a homeowner that are kind of simple, I guess. Okay. Check for everything else first.
Okay. Eliminate all else.
Eliminate everything else that we're talking about today. If you've eliminated all of those things, but you're still experiencing those symptoms in your home, then it's definitely time to start looking at VOCs.
Okay.
Okay. And so either get a test kit, or if you don't want to be bothered with the timing and nuisance or everything involved in a homeowner trying to do their own VOC testing, hire a professional.
Okay, so call a professional like who, for example?
There are a lot of heating and air conditioning contractors who have a monitor called an air advice monitor. And that air advice monitor measures everything we're talking about today.
Oh, carbon monoxide, dioxide,
Humidity,
humidity.
temperature,
Okay.
VOCs, it does all of that. And so if you can find an HVAC contractor who uses an air advice monitor, they can come out and do a test for your home. Now, solutions.
Okay.
Solutions, okay? A little bit tougher, okay? But the first go-to solution is find and eliminate the source, okay? Make sure if any chemicals that you have are in a well-ventilated room, not ventilated into the home. Like if you have any chemicals, keep them in your garage or something separate from your home or even outside. Make sure that whatever chemicals or cleaning products that you have are small quantities, so there'll be less VOCs emanated. Okay. We'll take a few steps backwards on your home, and that is, if you can, buy furniture that is certified to have low VOCs. Buy paint that has low VOCs. You don't have any control over this in your home that's already built, but you can make sure that your sheetrock doesn't have VOCs. And the paint that you've used and the flooring that you've used. You could, a solution is you can repaint your house with low VOC paint and just paint over the top of your existing paint to seal the VOC from outgassing from the paint. Ultimately, if you find out that you're a person that is extremely sensitive, I got this one customer who was extremely sensitive to VOCs. We didn't find that out so we had put in a NovusAer filtration system for the customer. 6 months later, he calls me up and says, "Hey, this filter's not working as good as it did." And I said, that can't be. My filter actually gets better and better. It doesn't get worse and worse. Any mechanical filter, as it starts to build up particles on it, it gets tighter, smaller and smaller holes. So it gets better and better. It doesn't get worse. And so I said, tell you what, I'm going to bring out my monitor. Let's put it in your home and let's just leave it there and do a long-term report. Well, I forgot, left it there. 6 weeks later, I remembered. It turned out to be a good thing. I called him up. I said, what is happening on the weekends in your home? Every weekend, your VOCs go up, and then they go back down on Monday, and then they go up. Every weekend, your VOCs go up. Well, he says, dang it. I've got a new girlfriend, and she vapes.
Oh.
And she spends the weekend at his house. I don't know what happened to the girlfriend because he was extremely sensitive to VOCs, so don't know what happened there. But yes, so if you are extremely sensitive to VOCs, it could be that you might actually have to move because your home has too many VOCs that it's giving off. Or you might actually have to build a home from scratch that is all VOC-free construction.
Okay, so we find the source of the VOCs. Is there any other solution for helping decrease VOCs in our house?
Yes, dilution, just like carbon dioxide that we talked about before. To decrease the buildup of VOCs in your home, ventilation is the way to go. So a heat recovery ventilator or an energy recovery ventilator is a great way to solve a VOC problem.
So if you love your home, you don't want to move.
Yep, ventilate.
You could add some ventilation
Yep,
solutions.
you can
So
ventilate.
stick around. Okay,
Yep.
great, awesome. Well, let's move on to our next one.
Okay.
Before this, I asked if it's possible for the indoor air to be worse than the outdoor air. And one really big reason why I asked this is because I live in Utah along the Wasatch Front, and I look out my window and either it's smog or it's fire season, and there's a lot of pollutant in the air. Is that inside of my house?
Well, your house is breathing.
So yes, it is.
Oh, yes, it is. Looking across the room, you can't see haze, but looking across the valley, you can see that haze. okay? That same haze is inside your home because your home is constantly breathing. So, yep, it's there.
What are the symptoms of your house having those indoor pollutants or outdoor pollutants inside?
Right. Well, it does. And so what we're talking about is particulate matter, okay? What are those particulates that are in the air and what happens when I breathe them, okay? So, mostly we're curious about, it's called PM 2.5. That's the tiny little particles that are in the air that get into your lungs. Your lungs has a really, really hard time getting rid of them. Plus, those particles can pass through the blood barrier and get into your body. Okay? So, PM 2.5, if you listen to the, or somebody says, hey, it's a bad air day out there, stay inside. Um, Air quality index is what they're talking about.
Okay.
Okay? And that's measuring how many particles of PM 2.5 there are in every cubic meter. So it's micrograms per cubic meter of PM 2.5. That's the air quality index. So the short-term effects of PM 2.5 are the kind of the effects that we've talked about with other irritants, okay? Eyes, nose, and throat irritation, okay? It can cause coughing, sneezing, respiratory irritation, okay? The long-term effects, though, are pretty substantial. It can cause heart disease, heart attacks, strokes. There are some cancer-causing
Cancer.
PM 2.5 particles. I mean, there are literally, I mean, I say literally, there are over 7,000 articles been written on the negative health effect of PM 2.5 particles.
Yeah. So
Right?
essentially, it's toxins in the air that are getting into your bloodstream and trapped there.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So bad stuff. Measuring it. The neat thing about this is it's easy for a homeowner to measure it now. So when I first
Great
started,
news.
yes, when I first started, I was spending thousands of dollars on laser particle counters. Sorry, that's what you measure it with, is a laser particle counter. But because it's such a huge known issue, and there are thousands of laser particles being manufactured now for homeowners, the cost is like almost nothing compared to what I've spent, okay? For $36, you can get a high quality laser particle counter for your home.
That sounds totally worth it, especially if you're having any of these symptoms. It
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of these things, it's kind of this underlying, I just don't feel well.
Right.
And so if you've been chasing the doctor or anything for years, just trying to figure out what you or your kids or family members have going on, like why not spend $30 or whatever it was
Right.
to test this stuff?
Yeah. And the neat thing is they're really simple to use. You can find out what the air, just set it on the counter and it'll tell you what is going on in the air that you're breathing. Not that you'll remember this, but 5 micrograms per cubic meter is the health threshold that the World Health Organization has determined is the threshold that you want, okay?
Okay.
You want less than 5 micrograms per cubic meter, okay? Now, according to the Air Quality Index, that's a number 28. You probably won't remember that.
Well, you can come back to this video.
Anything,
Or maybe it's in the description. I'm sure we can put that in the description so that people can remember it and quickly find it.
that's a good idea. So anything over 28 on the Air Quality Index means that the air is suspect outside, and that's what's coming into your home, okay? But the other neat thing is you can find out how good of an air filtration system you have. So you put the monitor in front of the air intake, and it's going to measure the amount of particles that are in the air going into your system, and then you would put it where the air is coming out of your system and measure how much particulate is coming out, do the math, and it'll tell you how good your filtration system is.
So it sounds like that's one of the things we can do about it is air filtration systems within our home.
Yes, your house is breathing. So it's breathing in that stuff from the outside. You can actually control where the air is breathing into your home. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to give your house a straw to breathe through.
Okay.
And it's going to breathe through that straw into your filtration system before it goes into your home. So instead of willy-nilly, all these particles coming in through the gaps and cracks in your home, all the air now comes through and is filtered before it goes into your home. So we can stop the uncontrolled dirty air coming into your home.
And so, just clarification on this. Weatherization, do I have to weatherize my home plus do this, or it's simply installing this depressurization duct?
Weatherization is always good, except for carbon dioxide buildup. But weatherization is always a good plan. You can have your home tested to find out how leaky it is. That's a different industry than mine.
Okay.
But there is a complete weatherization industry that can analyze your home, find out how tight it is, and then offer solutions to seal it up to make sure it's less leaky. So weatherization is a good thing. Stop those particles from coming in.
So you and I have talked in other videos about how marketing can be really misleading when it comes to air filtration. And so what kind of gimmicks, just really quick, let's talk about some of those gimmicks again that people should watch out for.
There are quite a few gimmick products out there that tout that they can eliminate 99.9 something percent of particulates in the air. And testing reveals that they may actually have some effect in a laboratory, but there is no testing whatsoever that they do anything in a real life home that breathes. Laboratory test chambers don't breathe. My home does, your home does. And so far, there's no testing that proves that they do anything. So you have to be careful that there's some products out there. Specifically, they're ionizers and photocatalytic oxidizers are the terms that are being used. And like I say, there's no proof that they actually do anything.
Okay, so just like all marketing, use caution.
Yep.
So we've got one more. What's our last one?
Formaldehyde. The reason why we're talking about that is it is so prevalent. Okay. Now, to be clear, formaldehyde is just another VOC, but it is the most prevalent VOC in anyone's home.
That's really surprising to me because I'm not in a mortuary.
What people don't realize, besides that's what you put frogs to sleep with, right? In your biology classes, you put a little formaldehyde in there, and the frog goes to sleep. Okay,
Yeah.
it's also a cancer-causing agent. Okay, and so it's nasty stuff. I'm not going to go into any more details because it's just a VOC that you should test for.
Okay, but one of those top ones that we
One of those top ones.
for.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I pretty much find formaldehyde in everyone's home. I haven't found a home that doesn't have some formaldehyde.
Okay, so we're gonna treat formaldehyde basically like the other VOCs.
Yep. Just like any other VOC, see if you can find the source. Not finding the source, you're just going to bring in fresh air. You're going to ventilate your home to lower the amount of formaldehyde you're breathing.
Great. This has been a fantastic discussion. I've learned a lot about our indoor air quality, but let's just remind ourselves of what we talked about today. So one thing that I remember from our discussion is that our home breathes.
Yep.
And so just like us, our home is breathing, bringing air in and air is coming out, which...
Yeah, so your home is constantly in a flux. Because it's constantly changing, just taking a sample test is kind of irrelevant. You need to be kind of continuously monitoring. So a monitor that will continuously monitor whether it's humidity or carbon dioxide or particulate matter, that's important.
And how cool is that we as consumers, as everyday people, have the ability to be able to test these things, whether it's buying tools for ourselves or hiring somebody to come out and do it. It's very empowering to know that I can have this information. I don't just have to guess.
Right. Yeah, especially because some of the symptoms or effects of the bad indoor air quality are just irritation. Some are deadly.
Or after a long period of time could become very serious.
Correct.
Well, and I loved what you said where you asked the customer, how much toxic, poisonous gas do you want to be breathing every day?
Right.
And my answer is definitely 0.
Right. And think about that. Think about all the other symptoms and the long-term effects we've talked about of all the other indoor air quality issues there are. Same answer applies. How many particles of PM 2.5 do you want to be breathing? Well, 0, right?
Absolutely 0.
How much carbon dioxide do you want to be breathing? Yeah, none. So how much is important also? I want to be breathing essentially good, clean air.
If you'd like more information about this subject or many other subjects, you can go to essentialairproducts.com and scroll over to the section You Ask, We Answer, where there's a large database of information just for you.
Hey, thanks for listening today. If you go to the article on this subject, you'll actually find many products listed there that have links to products. Now, just so you know, I don't get any money for it, okay?
This is not affiliate marketing.
This is not affiliate marketing. These are products that I've discovered. Some of them I've used, some of them I haven't, but they're just examples of products that you can use yourself to do your own testing at home. Also, if this has sparked any new questions in your mind, go ahead and enter the questions in the question and answer area below, and we'll get back to you.
Thanks for watching You Ask, We Answer. For more tips and resources, visit us at essentialairproducts.com. Clean air starts here.